Power is not what I want. I want to be able to help people. If somebody can guarantee me this, I can still do work for people. You can take the power. And whoever takes power, keep doing the work for the people. Because that is more important to me.
I have been talking to a lot of decision makers, and my first thing was why the producers have to suffer for creating something and not owning anything of their own.
I'm going to say this to politicians out there. You use us, people who are in the entertainment industry, to help you, but you do not help us at all. IP rights will not be there. Stations taking your rights shouldn't be there. RTM is your local, your government station is taking rights.
If you could change one structural thing about how the Malaysian film and television industry is built, what would it be?
The IP is one of the biggest issues. You are content creators. And you want that your IP will be able to make you money for the rest of your life. But with your IP, if you don't fix your tax, which is the entertainment tax, you're still screwed. Because you're going to get taxed by the entertainment tax, and you get income tax, and you get company tax. Then what do you get at the end of the day? How are you going to support the industry?
Comedy is not entertainment, it's diagnosis. The comedian who makes 50,000 people laugh in the same room is not telling jokes. He's reading the room, picking up what is unspoken, what is repressed, what the audience knows but cannot say out loud. And he's saying it back to them dressed as something harmless. Dato Afdlin Shauki has been doing this for more than 30 years. And now he holds 3 of the most consequential positions in Malaysian film industry simultaneously. He's chairman of FDAM, the Film Directors Association of Malaysia, re-elected unopposed in 2026. He's chairman of the Skim Wajib Tayang committee, the body that decides which Malaysian film receives guaranteed screen time, and he won the PKR Setiawangsa division in April 2025, placing him inside the ruling party of the country. The comedian who spent decades on the outside of the system fighting to get his story seen is now in the room where the decisions are made. Today on What's Stewing, we sit down with Dato Afdlin Shauki about laughter, policy, FDAM, Wajib Tayang films, and what happens when the person who has been shouting at the institution for 30 years walks through its doors and takes a seat at the table. Welcome to the interview. Welcome to the show, Dato. It was such an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you so much.
Let's start off with something which I think as a producer-director, I wanted to ask you that you're the chairman of FDAM, the Film Directors Association of Malaysia.
Yes.
You got re-elected unopposed for 2026-2027. For someone outside the industry, what does FDAM actually do for a working for Malaysian directors? And what was the problem you were elected to fix?
When I first joined FDAM as a chairman, what happened was FDAM at that point was disbarred by ROS. So I went into FDAM. At that time, it was in deep manure. Alright? So we had to fix that first. So what happened was the association was not run properly. So it was ran by a group that really didn't know and didn't follow the constitution of the society. So we had to fix that first. So when that was fixed, we got ROS then put us back on track. And once we got on track, then we started doing things for FDAM. What usually happens is we become the reference point from RTM and many stations who want to check on, is this director credible? Does he belong to your association? And usually if the director does not belong to the association, they will then say, why is he not in the association? So one of the things is we keep track on directors, and we keep track on problems that they have been in. Either they have caused the problems or producers cause problems for them, or whatever situation. So we know certain issues. If they bring up, wasn't this director problematic for this, then we can explain, no, this issue has been solved because we have a legal team in there, we have everything. So every problem that a director has with producers and so on, they will come to us, and then we will bring it up to the Producers Association or the producer itself, demanding to know what actually happened. And we are fair. We want to be fair to everyone because you are a producer director, right? So I am a producer director, and we always have this love-hate relationship with ourselves because we want something as director, and the producer says, "No, you can't afford it." And at the same time, "No, you have to finish your shoot now." I said, "But I want more time." So that is the conflict of us being
The internal dialogue.
Yes, that is always our problem. And the issue when we work with an external producer, the producer always wants their way because usually they're the investors as well. So they have investors working with them, and the investors has a timeline when they need their funds back. So like a film I once did, they were following the timeline of the investor instead of my timeline. And I say, the film is not ready. I said, "Oh, but we need to release by this date." I said, "No, the film is ready when we've done all the work for the film." Say, but we need to release by this date. Then I said, "Then you take out my name from the film as the director. Put John Smith." Dia cakap, "John Smith will direct this movie, not me." Dia cakap, "Because how can I as a director put out a half-baked film for the world to see, oh, this is the work of Afdlin Shauki?" So this is the dialogue, and it always happens. Some of the things that also happens is you get a director to pitch for a grant. He pitches his idea for a grant. You get the grant, then you change the director. Or we want another director to direct because why he's cheaper or whatever the reason is. Now, these are the things where we come back in and say, no, you don't do that. If he pitched the thing, then you're using the story that he pitched, then there is a responsibility for you to talk to this person before you change him. Like there was a film I pitched for, it won, but at the same time, they didn't have the budget to do my budget. So they actually told me, "Look, we cannot do your budget. Are you okay if we change to another director?" I said yes, but they paid me a compensation for pitching and not for to make the story.
Just to be fair.
It needs to be fair. So to me, that's fine. That means the producer held up his end of the bargain. He did his best to try and work with what he had. So for me, that's fine. But when it's unfair, or we've got many cases that directors come to us and say, either they were gypped by the producers, or even this director had issues with the crew or whatever. So these are some of the things. What FDAM used to do before was just to survive. This is what I believe. Yeah, they survived and they were looking for projects. So they go to RTM, or we want a grant, or we want some hours. So it was a place where a group of people could make some money instead of taking care of directors. My main grouse was before, hey, look at all these directors that are winning awards abroad. Why is FDM not saying anything, not making a noise? Say, this is our director. Congrats to this director. FDM congratulates you being a part of the fraternity in Malaysia of directors. Nothing like that. Even Finas didn't do that. So when people won awards out there, like I've won a couple of awards, nothing in Malaysia. Nobody, like my peers. Where are my peers? Nobody. So when I came back in, when I came in, I told them this is something we need to do. We need to make people realize that we are a fraternity that supports each other.
Yeah.
Because a lot of time we were brought up like this. Every director is his own island.
Yeah.
I do my thing and I get finished. I do everything. But then before she died, Yasmin actually did something which I thought was quite good. And I've heard this happen. Yasmin Ahmad, right? So Yasmin Ahmad would do this. She would call me. She would call a few directors to watch her offline before she did her final cut.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all the movies, Setiawangsa, whatever, we went in to watch. And then he said, "Can you give me your thoughts?" And then if we didn't understand something, I said, "Min, why did you do this? I don't understand. So the ending is not clear or blah blah blah." She would then try and explain to us why she did what she did. And as a group, we are supporting each other, but we are also honest to each other. So when I went to FDAM, we started this again. I said, now FDAM has a team of directors who will watch anybody's film if you want us to come and watch. So come and watch, but you must be ready for our feedback. There was one film director, a Chinese film director, who did a Silat movie. So Silat movie is very Malay, right? So a lot of things. So he mixed the idea of an action martial arts, but with a Silat punya Silat as the main subject, right? When we saw the movie, as Malays, we realized he's missing an ingredient. So we would say, I think you miss certain things which make this thing. When you watch a film, you don't want to stop to think, okay, who did this movie? Because
It should not look like this out of line.
exactly. So it has to be like, I believe this movie, straight away. So when you feel like there's something not right with this movie, there's a problem. So we told him that, and he was so open. He said, okay, then he'll fix this. I'll fix this. I'll fix this. It was a new director, a young Chinese director who wanted to attempt something. He did the film already. He shot it before, but we told him the problem is if you want this for a Malay market, it's missing certain things. So it's just a bunch of us giving. So there was a Chinese director, there was a Malay director. We mixed it up, and we call this squad the FDAM Brotherhood Squad. So we will just go to watch films to support, support each other's film. And I hope this becomes a trend that, again, we as film directors support each other. Again, that's why one of the things that I wanted to fix when I went into FDAM was the fact that, first of all, I want people to start respecting our profession again. Because at one point, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can call himself a director, and not to say that they need to have a degree, a master's, or a PhD. A lot of us became directors without those. We came directors via School of Hard Knocks, right? We did the work. We did the PA work. We did the AD work. We did all until we understood what everything was about. So that is your experience, right? So your experience counts. So but at the same time, during COVID and after, what I saw was a lot of directors started to take on other jobs like driving Grab, becoming food handlers and sending food. Why? Because jobs were decreasing.
Yeah.
And I thought, it's not to say that doing that brings down your dignity. It's not. I always believe whatever you need to do to sustain your family, to make money, even if I told my wife, if we comes to a point I have to work at McDonald's, I'll work for the family. Because that's,
It's halal.
It's halal, exactly, as long as it's halal. Except McDonald's is not
healthy.
not really my choice lah. Maybe Ahmad lah. I will go to Ahmad. But what I'm saying is, I want to give them a bit of dignity. So what we pushed upon is all these directors with a lot of experience should go and do at least a TVET diploma. And with a TVET diploma, they can start teaching. And when they teach, they will be paid a proper wage for teaching, not just a token wage.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, when we go anywhere, there's a token for you. I am slightly different because I'm a celebrity. So my token is different from a director's token. So I'm called to speak or whatever, and I get paid an amount because of my celebrity, not because I'm the president of FDAM. So with a DKM, Diploma Kemahiran, which what we got for the industry, I managed to get, I think about 20 to 40 directors accredited with the DKM. And I'm doing my master's. I finished my master's based on the DKM. Okay. So I'm now working on my PhD. So what that does is it allows me, I tell the story because I said I couldn't afford to go to school when I was younger because I had to work. I had to build my name. now I've built my name. Now I got time. Now I go to school. So that's what I'm doing now. So, and it everybody has a different path, right? So with that, I tell the directors, go at least get your DKM. It's easy, is because it's just based on your experience. Once you get your DKM, then it opens another door for you. So it's just a matter of keeping your profession dignified with doing things that you are really good at, as opposed to I have to do something else. A story of somebody who's done well and then suddenly having to do something smaller. Cinderella Man. I don't know whether you watched that. It's a Ron Howard. It's a beautiful film. I watched that movie and I just went, you know, I've been there. I've been there, and then I've been at the lowest point in my life, and then it just makes you ask the question, what would you do for your family, and you would do anything for your family.
Yeah.
So I want dignity back in FDAM more so than projects. So projects is not something I am. So if if that is not what you like in a president or a chairman, then you might need to change the next term. Because what I do is I want to bring back dignity to FDAM. We want to make sure every director now gets covered either by insurance or get covered by EPF when they go on a project. We also open doors with Tekun. So any directors who have projects with RTM amounting 100 to 200,000, they can apply with Tekun. So prior to this, you can apply, but there was no MOU. So now FDAM has an MOU. We're also working closely with universities, where if you got your DKM, you want to go to university, there's a university who's already partnering up with us. So we are a bit more on bringing back our, how to say,
Mojo back.
Mojo lah. Yeah. That's the best word lah. Bring back the mojo, bring back a bit of pride in being a director. Because when I became a director, it was the most proud moment in my life. When I got Osman Hafsham to sign my paper to become a member, because you have to have a senior to sign, and they have to say, I've seen this guy's work, I believe in him, because you are putting your name down for him. So he put down, and he's the director who made me become a director, because I watched Mechanic and I went, I want to be like him. Look at all the people he's entertaining. He's making people laugh and making. So when I watched Mechanic, I just said, this is the guy. He's my idol. Piramli is my idol, but this guy of that age where there was color and Susan Lancaster in tight t-shirt. That was the time where I believe this is a guy who understands Malaysia, and he wants to make Malaysia happy and makes Malaysia laugh, and that's what I want to do as well. So I want to bring that back. Right now, that pride is not there. To go up to a director and say, sir, I want you to have a look at my work, and can you sign my form? And they say, the feeling is, I don't know how to describe it. It's
I understand. Maybe that whole pride and joy which is missing right now. You want to bring that pride and joy, because that is, it seems like that's missing at this point, because everybody has become, like you said, an island of their own, and there is the sense of brotherhood is missing.
Yes.
You mentioned, the Tekun National to give directors access to Sharia compliant financing, the contract I scheme, and Tekun Niaga.
Yeah.
What is the actual capital problem that Malaysian directors face that prompted this, and how does this solve it?
The main problem is this. Capital is an issue, right? A lot of, and actually it's not just a Malaysian problem. It's anywhere in the world. Right? If you're a director and you've got ideas, you usually don't have money. Okay? And the golden rule is don't use your own money. It is the golden rule of actually filmmaking and so on. Don't use your own money. You have the idea, that is your asset.
Yeah.
You have the idea, you have the know-how, that is your asset. Get people who don't have the idea and don't have the skill set, but they have the money. Then join forces and work together. So that's the basic business of filmmaking. Now, if some directors have the money and they produce themselves, but in general, 95% will not have the funding, like what you said. So And there are so many. Actually, tekun financing it doesn't have to be Sharia compliant.
Is it?
Because the Sharia compliancy goes to Bank Rakyat. So certain banks, if you're in media and you want to do a film or whatever, you cannot go to Bank Rakyat for funding, although they have funding for businesses, because it's not we don't fall under Sharia compliancy. So, but tekun can. So if you go tekun, you're doing say I'm doing a drama for RTM. Sure, if I'm doing this for RTM, as long as it's a government contract, you can get the financing. At the moment, I remember it's 100,000 to 200,000. Yeah, but it's a small one lah. If you get a big series, still you need to. That's just your seeding fund, But at least the seeding fund is there, and it's also. You can also go to other banks. SME bank is also open, and they're not Sharia compliant per se in terms of they don't put media under Sharia compliancy. But other things maybe like if it's haram or whatever, then they don't allow. But they don't put media under that. But Bank Rakyat does, and why I don't know. Please have a look at that. Yeah, whoever is in power or in government right now, please have a look at that.
You're the chairman of Skim Wajib Tayang committee. For anyone who does not know, what does the Skim Wajib Tayang committee actually does, and why does it exist?
Skim Wajib Tayang exists to protect local film producers. Bottom line, that is the first one. Second, we have to then think about the cinemas as well. How we balance out business as well as the protection of these producers. Okay, but the first one is we have to protect producers. But the producers must really, really do their work. What we are facing now in Skim Wajib Tayang is this. People are spending 8 million ringgit to do a film. But then there are people who are spending 100,000 telemovies, but now blowing it up to film, thinking my telemovie can be a film, right?
It has happened in the past.
Yeah, yes, and what it does is it depreciates the trust people have in Malaysian cinema, because this is the quality of Malaysian cinema. This is a telemovie I can watch for free at home. But somebody has said to this producer, hey, you can go for cinema. You can make 100 million. All those films that make money, there is no formula that says this movie is going to make money. There is no formula.
Yeah.
But what you do is risk reduction, right? As you know, as a producer, all we do is reduce risk. And at the end of the day, it's still up. You've done the best to make sure that this movie will make it, but then it also depends on God, on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It also depends on what happens. Suddenly there's an election, suddenly there's COVID, suddenly there's whatever. And suddenly there's a long holiday on, so all these factors play a role. So that's why it is considered a high-risk business. Filmmaking is a high-risk business. But what you do is you try to reduce risk. And right now, if you're a producer making one film, it's very hard to try and convince an investor to come and invest, because it's too high a risk for them. Because what they want is, I want to protect my capital. That's basically it. If you can prove to them they can protect the capital, they will sign. So, for example, I wanted an investor to come in to invest in my film. I say, I need $1 million. I say, okay. But I want a personal guarantee of $1 million back. I say, a personal guarantee. Then this is a loan. This is not an investment, right? But you want the investment. You want this to be a loan, and you want a percentage of the profits as investment. So it's a hybrid loan investment thing, which
Doesn't make any business sense, actually.
Doesn't make any business sense, and that's why we should walk away. We cannot let ourselves be too desperate that we do not walk away from things that doesn't make sense. Because if we do, we will be caught in hindsight. Once everything is over, we will be caught. So as directors, we need to educate directors also about this, because sometimes, kita just think about, we want our film to be made, I want my vision to be shared. A lot of times, you ask the question, why Yue makes one movie in 15 years? Why? Because he's an artist that wants his way. So if you want your way and you want your budget, you have to wait for that miracle to happen, right? But if you want to be a working director and then you have to think of ways. And as you know, we directors are innovators, right? We try and change, we adapt, we try and see what we can do. If we have I have made films which purely as a gun for hire. Meaning, you want me to direct a horror movie? Okay, I'll direct a horror. I can direct a horror movie, but I know that movie is to pay the bills.
Yeah.
I've once spoken to Forrest Whitaker, right? We met at a mutual friend's house. Forrest Whitaker was there, and then I asked Forrest. I said, "Sir, I'm a big fan of your work. I know your work with Wim Wenders and so on. But why did you do Species?" I asked because it was such a bad movie, right? But why did you do? Because all this while his pick was really, really like arty films, really good films, right? King of Scotland, they all those things, and then I asked him why, and he smiled. Good catch, he said. Sometimes you do things for money, and we have to survive. I completely understand, and I wanted to work with Ben Kingsley. So Ben Kingsley did it for money. So I did. I look at the senior, and he really wanted to work with Ben Kingsley. So yeah, why would you question somebody who wants to do something? For whatever reason he does it. Well, he had a reason to do it, right? Now, if Yue is okay to do one film in 15 years, then that's his call, right? But if you are a person who wants to bring up a family and you need to get paid every quarter year, or every year, you need to be making movies every year. So you need to make movies that people will want to watch. At least break even. Because break even point is actually quite good. Yeah, you break even in the cinema, you will make some money outside. So that's something we are trying to also instill. We don't want to stop directors from making whatever cinema they want to make, because we've got really, really good storytellers. We've got really good stories. And like I say, let any story that wants to go through Wajib Tayang come through Wajib Tayang. But there's sometimes when you see something and you go like, why did you come to Wajib Tayang? Because you are going to take up space that other films can take. And other films spend a lot more effort into that film, and you're taking up that space. So our job is to actually say, okay, we have to let out every film through. But we can only give you X number of cinemas. But for things that have put a lot of effort, we see them, give them the maximum number of cinemas they want. And if right now we got 200 of cinemas, but a lot of them are mixed Chinese, Tamil, and Malay. Malay, good number will be 100 to 140. So good Malay films will go to 100 to 140. Good Tamil films, 50, 60. Good Chinese film, 50, 60 at the moment. But the cinemas already say, if this movie is working, it goes up to 70, 80. And we will do it. So Wajib Tayang is there to regulate that everybody, first of all, don't get jammed at one. If everybody wants a holiday, then there'll be 20 films on holiday.
Yeah.
And no film is going to survive, right? So whoever comes first and asks for that date first, he gets a date. But if we see that movie, say this movie is not ready, or this movie is, what is this movie about, right? Because and then the cinemas are going to watch it. I said, sir, this is a big time for us. Big Hollywood films are going to come in. You've got to be strong. This Malay movie must be strong to stand up against. It must be unique. They're not saying that Malay movies are not good. Malay movies made the most money last year than any foreign film. So we made 240 million, which is the box office for local films, and the other international films. But of course, there were not many
Marvel
Marvel
movies.
movies last year, right? And all the ones that came out bombed, right?
Yeah.
So this year also not looking good for them. But we've already got, apparently the cinema said, September there's already 2 million pre-sales, advance sales for Spider-Man.
Yeah.
You know, and then the Doomsday is coming this year. So those two you avoid with your life if you're a producer. You know, like I just got a call from a friend, and he just said, "Bro, I have my film is coming out." And I say, "Okay, it's a Tamil movie, right?" And it's really good Tamil movie. Yeah, usually Tamil movies about gangsterism, horror, or gangsterism. Okay, but this movie, it was a murder mystery. And I was just went like, wow, this is something I was impressed with the storytelling and the acting. And the lead was an Indian Muslim as opposed to a Hindu Muslim. But his friends, they all spoke Tamil. And I thought it was such a really interesting dynamic. They're trying to tell a story, and this guy is a cop. And so Irfan is a guy who's doing really big guns now. He's also in a Vijay movie.
Oh, is it?
So Vijay movie, he called me. He says, Irfan called him up. Vijay movie is opening the day after their movie opens. I said, this is the last movie that Vijay has done because he's gone politics, right?
Yeah.
So this is the last Vijay movie. Everybody's gonna watch this movie. So
Bad luck.
it's like, so I said, sir, I need your advice. Can I change my date? If I go there, Irfan is in there. So I said like this, because there was still time. So I said, what should I do? I said, if I was you, I'm putting my hat on as a producer, I would run from that date. Go to another date. Is this your first time asking for a change of date? Yes. Okay, Wajib Tayang, you have to remember, you can change once to any date you want. The second time you change, you have to wait 6 months to get another date. Okay, so that means if your second time unlucky, a Surya movie opens your movie, then we are sorry, we can't change unless you're willing to wait 6 months. So he asked for a date. We look at the date. Okay, that is actually okay. There's just one Malay movie, and yours is Tamil. So it doesn't conflict with each other. And I said to him, if I was a producer, Irfan is in the Vijay movie, and he's in your movie. You write on that Vijay movie for the promotion of your movie. So don't go out with your movie first because nobody is going to know about your movie. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would do. I would say. So let Vijay's movie go out first, 1 or 2 weeks, and then your marketing is just the guy from Vijay's movie. You know, he's in our movie. You know, and he said, oh, yeah, okay. So it's like, and he went back to Wajib Tayang, asked for, and we changed it for him based on humanitarian reasons. Because we don't want him to die. He put effort, he put money into the film. And again,
it's a very different subject also. It's not the regular subject which you usually see.
And that is what Wajib Tayang is there for. We're not just gatekeeping, just give him this date, give him that date, give him the cinema. We also look at, hey, this guy needs help. We need to help. So my fight has always been with the cinemas. Okay, I'm not going to lie. I've got a love-hate relationship with the cinemas. Because 2 of my films, I have beef with cinemas. My first film, Sumo, they reported the wrong numbers to Finas. And when I complained to Finas, Finas said, I will look into it and never did anything. The second one, they cheated on the time. Wajib Tayang, you get 5 times a day showing, right? Mm-hmm. But in Wajib Tayang 1.0, never specified the time. So what they did was, they started my movie at 9 a.m. in the morning, 11 a.m., and then 1, and then 3. By 5, my movie's finished. So the night time, when people just came back from work to watch the 6 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 11 o'clock, is all foreign films. So people coming in to watch my movie, sorry, movie tak ada. So that's a shitty thing to do to local producers. So my beef with them is real. So when I became Wajib Tayang, I think a lot of them went like, alamak, he's now the boss.
So from a cinema exhibitor
Point of view.
point of view, he runs a commercial business. Their job is to fill seats. Why should they be required by a policy
Yeah.
to show a local film that might underperform against a Hollywood blockbuster?
It's the same reason why Trump put tariffs on the world to protect the film industry. Okay, the our film industry has one market, bro. It doesn't have multiple markets all over the world. If we did, then it would be a different story. We might not need to protect our local industry, because by that time, if we are like Korea, our films are going all over the world. Our movies will fly in the local cinema because our quality is international standard. Our movies are not yet there, almost there. But I know right now, I would say our bar is so high right now after watching Kadam, after watching a few really good Malay films, that now is you know, if you just have an idea and you just want to play around, this is not your playground. Right now, the serious filmmakers are coming in, and they are the only ones who will survive. And the serious producers who want to do good cinema, they are the people who are going to survive. But they must get the belief and the support. So government should support these people. Stop with the people who are just giving them because his uncle knows this person, that uncle knows this person. It shouldn't be like that anymore. So it should be people who are serious in the industry. Give the otais. The otais I'm talking about, people like UA, Anwadi. Every year, give them grants to do certain film, because if not, they won't be able to do any film. These are our masters. The people who we call, our sifus in our industries. I want to see another sifu movie. It might not make money, but we know it's not going to make money. But we know it's an important cinema for us, for all the people down here to look at what he's doing and how he can do it. If not, they will just be. Yue is being appreciated outside more than he's being appreciated in this country. He's jury and panels for many film festivals around the world, right? But in Malaysia, he comes and does a class for KL film school, and and he's willing to do that. He's humble enough to do that session, watching films, watching other people's films, and having discussion with local film directors. And I believe, no matter how much you want the youth to come up, you cannot forget your grassroots. You cannot forget the people who actually build your cinema. So these are the people.
So tell me, when a film comes before your committee for consideration, what are you actually looking for, and what makes you say yes to give that Wajib Tayang scheme?
All right. What happens in Wajib Tayang is, when your film comes to us, it's already gone through LPF. So it means content is okay. No problem with content. Now, we don't look at content per se. Okay. Once it's done and you got your LPF, we have to give you dates. We have to give you the number of cinemas. But how many cinemas you get is based on what we watch. Because in a room watching your film will be people from the cinemas, the Wajib Tayang committee, and we watch. And the producers from the Film Producers Association. We will watch, and everybody gives a score. Now, once the score is tabulated, then based on the score, we will see how many cinemas the producer wants. Does it tally with how many cinemas the cinemas are willing to give based on what they watch?
Oh,
Okay, so our job as a committee, because cinemas will always give you the lowest. Say, this film, I want 140 cinemas. Suddenly, the cinema gives you a low score. It says, we can only give you 20. And I will stop and say, why 20? If I saw the movie and I thought it was a really good film, why 20? I said, I think this is a very important film. This is So there are times we play ball with Mafe when they say, when something is really shite, it's shite. So it's like, okay, I agree. How many cinemas? 40? Okay, 40 cinemas. We are okay. But when there's something like, look, this guy is a name, there's a name director there, there's whatever. How can you just give 50, 60 cinema? And they obviously put in money into this film.
Yeah.
How can you give them that little cinemas? So we fight. We fight them until they say. But that fight is just a small part lah. I would just say the biggest part of Wajib Tayang now is coming to the enacting the new Wajib Tayang rules, because the rules of Wajib Tayang was from 1957,
Oh, really?
and now things have changed, everything. So that's why all these things, or the law is 5 screenings a day, right? 5 screenings a day, no time. So in Wajib Tayang 2.0, your prime time is given 5 screenings. We will spell out the time is 3, 6, 9, 11. So in the new 2.0, the time is spelled out. Before this is not spelled out. There's no detail.
Yeah, that I heard, because a lot of producers have the same complaint that they got Wajib Tayang, but random time, random day, random screenings.
They are not allowed to pull their film out. Right now, they say if in 4 days, which is your opening weekend, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it falls below 15%. They have the right to reduce the cinema or pull it out completely. Now, before this, we had no system in the cinemas that we can say, okay, we have checked the system, the numbers you give us is correct. They have their own system, but that system is not linked to Finas. So right now, if you buy a KFC anywhere, like buy a Happy Meal, the Happy Meal will be registered at the KFC home office. Did somebody bought a Happy Meal? Oh, you got a Happy Meal. Cinema means that cinema can do that. Somebody buys a ticket, Finas gets a number straight away. It's like sending an SMS. It goes there. So whatever numbers is in real time, which means I can give you real time numbers for today. This is real time numbers. Tell the producers, dude, everywhere is doing well except for Penang. You might need to pump up your marketing in Penang. So you do lah, whatever. So as this is information data for us, Penang, we need more. Can influencers, let's pay some influencers in Penang, let's get them to talk. This is what we do for theatre. Theatre, we got real-time board, which how many seats is filled, like Istana Budaya. How many seats are filled? Oh, on Thursday is slow. So do marketing on Thursday. What can we do? So we are in full control of our fate. You know, if we put in more marketing money for those days, we might get more seats in. You know, so those are the things that we can do right now. Filmmaking in Malaysia, make the film your best film, put it inside the cinema, market it as good as you can, hoping that it's going to survive. At the end of the day, the cinema only gives you the numbers day after or day after that.
Yeah.
And that numbers is not verified. How can we verify? I'm not saying they're lying, okay? Far from it. I'm not saying they're lying. But the numbers cannot be verified because your system is not linked to a government system that Finas can check in real time. So with that, I can open let's say a small microsite for you as the producer of your film. Let's say Memory. Open Memory. Memory producer can watch in real time as the tickets go.
Oh.
You know, that system is already available everywhere around the world, except for Malaysia. Because cinemas don't want to put their system, aside system in there. Why?
That's a thin line.
That's a thin line. Also, that's a story for another day. Or maybe you're going to ask me that question, which I cannot answer. But, you know, of course, it'll put me into trouble. But what I'm saying is, you just think like, why people don't want to get into your books. Because maybe
there's something which they don't want to tell.
Okay.
But you have made films, you know. You know what it costs. You not just money, but time, and you're putting your soul in it to finish one film. As chairman, how do you make sure the system does not crush the filmmakers it is supposed to protect?
Like I said, we will try and give a date for any film that comes in, even the bad ones. But what we're trying to do in 2.0, because we need to be fair. Cinema needs to be cinema. You must make the film for cinema. You know a difference, right? TV
Yeah.
and cinema. Everything is different.
So language is different.
Language is different. Once you again, TV is talking heads, more talking heads.
Yeah.
Cinema is picture telling story. Very simple. But a lot of people think they are all Quentin Tarantino, want to do want to do talking heads in cinema. But Quentin Tarantino has a really different
Cinematic
mix.
language completely changes.
Yeah, exactly. Even though he's talking head, the cinematic language and the all the things that he put in there, it's still a film. It's still big. It's still something worth
Larger than life.
larger than life. But when TV, the topic might be interesting, I would say. Some topics are okay, this is an interesting topic, but you didn't shoot it for cinema. That's a problem. That's when it becomes a problem. I would say like this. Use AI to make it bigger if you need to. If you feel that I want to go to cinema, make it bigger by going in. But that one is like afterthought, And people who don't know how to use AI properly will screw it up, and make it even worse. If it's really good as a TV movie, go and sell it to platforms, go and sell it to stations. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew. That is a problem with a lot of people. When we get films and we see it, say, this is a tele movie. And there's a movie that we just recently watched, actually went out on TV, now they're blowing it up into film, wanting to go to film. It cannot work like that. The film must be first run on cinema. You cannot expect something you put out on TV will have a better life on cinema. Cannot. It doesn't work like that. Just because people didn't watch it the first time doesn't mean it's gonna work. Unless you put a director's cut. Say, this is a director's cut. There's a part in it where we pull it out because blah blah blah. Then yes. Then okay, we'll consider that. But other than that, if it's just a safe version you're putting it on, we can't give you that. So Wajib Tayang is very clear. We're trying to help producers, first of all, by making sure they don't kill each other, by all going for the same dates, and also spreading out the dates, and advising them also, this date there's this big film. Are you sure you want to go on that film, on that date?
Glad you brought up the platform thing. That means now that the OTT platform, has changed how Malaysians consume content, like permanently. It's not just a trend. It's just like now how they watch movies. Does the Skim Wajib Tayang even make sense in a world where a film can reach 1 million viewers without a single cinema screen?
It makes sense because out of all the countries, even Korea, Malaysia is the only country that registering 100 million, 75 million, 65 million sales still. Every other country is seeing a slump, including Indonesia. They're seeing a slump. And if a big movie comes, it's just once or twice. We are getting 10 movies right now. There's already more than 10 films that has got more than 10 million. With a budget of 700,000, 1 million. That we haven't reached the 65, 75 thing because the big films haven't come out. But they're coming out towards the end of the year. But already, the 10 to 15 million, there's many already. 15 million. Libang Libu, 700,000. Made for 700,000. Has already made 15 million. You know how much that is, right? That's basically awesome. You can quit for a year or two and just go on holiday in the Maldives. But the films like Imagineur made 6 million, but for budget of 500,000. There are other films, the fight movie, Tarung, made for 3 million. Got 35 million. So films are doing well. So when you say platform, yes, for people to consume content. But to be with friends, to be with family, what else is there that is wholesome besides going to karaoke? And not everybody wants to sing, but to watch and enjoy and experience together in the cinema. Because then you cannot go up and just do whatever. Oh, I got something to do outside. At home, that shared thing I used to love as a family at home is no longer there. Everybody watches on their phone, and then everybody has their own time. I watch my own thing. I watch YouTube. I don't want to watch, and then occasionally I hear good review. I watch I want to watch this movie that's on. But a shared experience, there is nothing better than
Exactly.
cinema. You know?
There's no alternative to cinema.
Exactly. Exactly. That's what I believe. Even the people that will say, oh, people don't go. I said, I don't believe that. Look at what's happening in Malaysia, especially Malaysia, because Muslim country, and also theme parks are too few far apart,
Expensive.
expensive, $100 per head. So what is there? What else is there? A good family outing. Maybe even a poor family, an M40 family, could go at least once a month. Somebody richer can go twice a month or 3 times a month. People who are movie heads will watch movies every other week
Yeah.
or every week. So, and shared experience to actually talk about something. I think we need to talk about this. Like conspiracy. When they pulled out the film, everybody was like, oh, conspiracy, oh, this must be the government. Whoa, whoa.
That was a big conspiracy.
Yeah. A national conversation. Spurred a national conversation. Good movies will do that. Mat Kilau did that. Whatever people think about Mat Kilau, maybe, subpar movie, whatever. Hey, you call that a subpar movie made 100 million,
Yeah.
right? So who's right? You are right. Or, the guy who made a movie that maybe made 1 million,
Yeah.
and this movie made 100 million. Now, quality-wise, it's subjective. That's what movies are about, right, brother? Movies are like that. That's why people watch Bill and Ted. That's why people
Dumb and
watch
Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber. Because it's for everyone. People just, there's a market for every kind.
Every demographic needs
Kids, movies making big money right now.
animation.
Animation is, wow. And that's why governments, until like, oh, we're now doing the jingle economy, the purple economy, because of animation. So people are reactive, So if cinemas are going big guns and great guns, the industry will still be alive and still push.
You're talking about the whole controversy and all that. You publicly said once, which became a huge thing in Malaysia, that there's a hidden hand, a cartel operating in the Malaysian film industry, controlling screen allocations, promotions, and distribution. Who is it, and why has it not been named openly till now?
Now I am I am ahli lembaga finance as well as the Wajib Tayang chair. I am not at liberty to actually say, but I stick true to my words. I believe there is a cartel. The reason is this. I speak to some friends, who are from the Hong Kong film industry. And they tell me, they teach me about how film works there. You get that? And pretty much how film works there is just like this. There is a distinct separation between distributor, producer, and cinema. You can only hold one license. You cannot hold two licenses. Like Malaysia, you can hold two. I'm a producer, I can be a distributor also. I'm a cinema, I can be a distributor or producer. My question is, how come cinema can be a producer? Or how come cinema can be a distributor, a local film distributor? Right now, they are buying distribution for cinema, international films. Already that's messed up, I would say. You know why? They should get external distributors to work with the cinema. You know why? Because once it's their movie, once even they buy the rights to Spider-Man, it's their movie. Now, would they make more money from their movie or a movie they have to take from Wajib Tayang? They will make more money from their movie. Right? Even so, we think right now the cut that the cinemas are taking is unfair. The cut that the state government is taking is unfair. This is based on 1953 Cukai Hiburan Duty Hiburan 1953, which states 25% 25 to 30% of all takings of people in the entertainment industry must go to state government. Out of that, half of whatever is left goes to cinema, half goes to you. But the risk, 100% is yours. Is it? If you're a businessman, that doesn't make sense, right?
It doesn't make sense at
Doesn't
all.
make sense at all. This is what we're telling the government. Any other country, there is an entertainment tax. There could be an art tax. An art tax would be 0 to 8% because you're supporting the artists of the country making stuff. So you cannot hold singers, writers, whoever it is, accountable for the 25%. Even filmmakers, even producers who make local films, you cannot charge them 25%. Charge them 0 to 8%. If the film falls below a certain amount, 0%. If an artist makes X amount of money, let's say it's below 120,000 a year, 0%. They need to survive. It's not a day job for them. It's a periodic income, which means when it comes, and then they have to survive based on that. So those are the things we need to change. We need to change this law, this really archaic, useless law. The law was put in place before because they needed entertainment to be taxed. And when I say entertainment, it's clubs, cabarets, gambling dens, all these things.
We don't
spas.
have that anymore.
Yeah, we don't have that anymore. Legally. But no, it's covering people in the arts. That's crazy, brother. That's crazy. So my point is this. If you guys in government don't listen to this, there is going to be a serious problem because you are going to run out of people who want to do arts anymore. And your culture will die because the people in the arts are the people who uphold your culture and tell the stories of what happened in our society from decade to decade. It is important for somebody to do something.
You have been a stand-up, an actor, a screenwriter, director, and now a policymaker. Which identity feels most like you and which one surprises you the most?
The reason I entered entertainment was the fact that I learned at a very young age, I love making people laugh and happy. That was my grandparents. The first people I performed to was my grandparents. I would create stories and I perform to them, like do little mixtapes of me telling stories. Because my grandma used to tell me stories before I went to sleep. So, and do voices. So I did that. I did tapes with voices and so on. So, and the reaction was this. I think the biggest reaction was, I did a tape for my grandfather. He listened to it and he said, "You come with me." He said, "Huh?" So I went into his car. He went around. He picked up his good buddies, his BFFs, old uncles. Listen to this. Poop, he put on my tape.
You had an audience.
Yeah, I had an audience in the car going around. He would drive around, and then the uncles would love. Who is this? This is my grandson, Chuchu. They were like laughing, and I realized, wow, this is. And when we watched Piramli films, we watched it together as family, and we saw that happiness, and I just felt that, and I wanted to be a part of that. I want to be a person who creates happiness. So I told myself, what can I do? So first thing was, okay, I want to be an entertainer. So that was the first journey. So I became a jazz singer because my dad is a jazz musician. So I sang with R.A.P. R.A.P. is my record label. That record label was then bought by Warner Music. And then after that, I went into theatre. So I did theatre since I was 10, children's theatre. And then I enjoyed that. And then I went up, and then it went to TV. I went to children's TV. And the fact of it was, I really enjoyed what I do. So it didn't matter how much I made. So it really surprised me when I started to work professionally that I got paid money to do what I love. This was the biggest surprise. Suddenly I got a check. Doing stand-up. At first, I did with Instant Cafe Theatre. So I was part of the alumni of the Instant Cafe Theatre. I don't know whether you remember that. Instant Cafe Theatre is a political satire group that we did everything politic. And we did song and dance and even sketches, right? About policies that government make. Every time we did the show, the special branch would be there. Just waiting for us to slip up to call us all in. So we all had files. But it made me feel like, okay, cool, I'm doing something that is making people listen. So art is not just about entertaining, but making people listen to certain things. So then you start to learn that, oh, your voice means something. And then can do something. So when I was singing, I wrote songs, and the songs I wrote was not about love or whatever. Most of my song was about trying to believe in myself, trying and just about death, about my auntie, about whatever. I wrote about that, and it is reflectionary about what I went through. So when I started doing movies, also it was like that. First movie was Bully, about a guy who was bullied all his life, and I never thought that. And people really looked down on my script, even me directing that film. They thought I was lucky because I won Best Actor the year before.
I was coming to that actually. Yeah.
Then after that, they gave me the opportunity because I always believe like this: come prepared, because that's how I live my life. I come from a poor family, and I learned from auditions before. If you don't come prepared, you are screwed. So when I went to Grand Brilliance, who was Media Prima at that time, I went there. I said, how do I make them see what's in my head? So I sat down with a friend of mine who was a cartoonist. So we storyboarded the whole movie that I had from page one. And it's not ChatGPT, before now ChatGPT. I want to, it's happened. This one is, I would literally describe what shot I want, so my friend would go pop, 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 and we storyboarded the film. So by the time when I pitch the film to Grand Brilliance, this is my script. And if you'd like to see the movie, this is the movie. And they look at the movie, they look at the shots that I have. Where did I learn shots from? I learned from comic books. I'm a big comic book collector. So from there, I learned my framing, I learned whatever, that kind of thing. And then a week after they called me back, said, we greenlight your film. So I was like, huh? I didn't expect much. I knew it was my first time. But when I got the green light, then I had to face the second problem, which nobody trusted because this actor wants to be director and then blah, blah, blah. What does he know? Even though I had the storyboard for them already. This is what I'm trying to achieve, blah, blah, blah. And they really screwed me. Some of them really, really, because this was Grand Brilliance team that went in. So they will promise me something and not give it to me last minute, But, I'm a person who's very, very calm, sabar, although I have a temper, but my temper goes to the wall, something, it doesn't go to people. But it really taught me a lot it just got me hard straight away that, okay, now next movie I do, I have to put my foot down. Because furthermore, that movie won so many awards. And it made decent money. For Grand Brilliance, they didn't lose money. They were like, oh, let's do part 2. Yeah, this team now. I want to pick everyone, not the team you want. I want my team. So I picked the team, the people who worked with me, who gave me their heart and soul. Abang Indra, the DOP, who worked with me, he did something really crazy for me. The first movie, he did a crane shot for me that craned out of a building, and there was no protection, no nothing. I said, bang, no need to go all the way out. It was a shot of me having a conversation with Nasha, and he had to pull in the shot, and at the right time, the fireworks had to shoot behind, and it will have to leave us and go to the fireworks. So the timing of that, the fireworks also we got for free because it was a National Day fireworks. So we had to time it so that 12 o'clock, the scene was 11:58. We timed how long that scene was, and he would move in, and then as we move in, we got the last shot, and then boom, we start, and he would leave us, and he was just supposed to leave us and just crane up. He just went like this, and the crane went out of the building. If he fell down, that was 30 over floors. And when he stopped, we saw he wasn't even wearing his belt. He was just to make sure that he got the shot proper. I said, bang, what the hell are you doing, bang? He said, and he just went, I want that shot for you. And true enough, that shot made that scene awesome.
This reminds me of Citizen Kane, the first shot of Xanadu coming out, right?
Yeah. So, and from that, then Abang, you're my go-to guy. So next movie by Nichiro also I use him, and only after that I use his. Now the go-to guy is his student, because then Abang has so many people wanting to do films with him, so it's very hard to book him. So his student is currently my go-to film DOP, and he's game for anything. Like recently we talked about AI. Okay, let's sit and talk about AI, all those things. So it's really fun. I love doing what I do. That's the thing. And now, like you say, when I went to politics, I before I went to politics, I did NGO work. I went to Gaza, and in Gaza, I realized something. Entertainment fed my soul because it made me happy. The other people got happy. The second stage was I was bringing aid to refugees, and I was bringing aid to people who gave me the same reaction, but even more. It was when I helped people, I saw how grateful they were that they had food for the day. We came in and we built wells for them to pump water. We built toilets for them. And just that overwhelming reaction that they gave to us made me realize, wait, this is something else. This is something I realized.
This is for the soul.
Yeah, and before it was just for me, the happiness. And I'm happy, I got you happy, but this one, nobody needs to know anybody is happy, but these people are happy. They saw, and I know they are fed, and I know that they got something for the day. They're protecting. In Gaza, I met people who would walk in front of me. Somebody 6,000 miles away, they would walk in front of me if a bullet is coming my way, and they're Palestinian. And they said to me, if anything, because they know G2G protection in Gaza. So they say, if anything happens, we will stand in front of you. And that shook me. When like, wow, when we live in two different worlds, and we really, really have different values. And my value, I have to recheck again. My anger at certain things, I have to recheck, because when I go back home, the old Aflin would complain about this car cutting into my lane. The old Aflin would get pissed off if at the most menial things. And I remember what they're going through. Children dying, their fathers going to work and not coming back home, and their house half is in ruins. But when we are there, they're still giving us food to eat, and we're just going, you need food for yourself. No, no, no. Rasulullah says we have to entertain guests. So they do that. So that really touched me, it opened me up to a certain new thing. That God did not put me on the world for myself. There has to be a point for what I'm doing in my life. So that became part of my DNA. I said, from now on, I opened my own NGO. And I started Yayasan Afdlin Shauki. So this is something I can keep on doing. So every year, right now we go to countries like, sorry, thank you. We go to countries outside with refugees and so on. So we've been to Cox's Bazar in Bangladesh, all the Rohingyas. We went to Turkey during the earthquake. We went into Syria to help the refugees in Syria. We went to Palestine, Jordan, Beirut, all over. And that was there. And then when COVID came, we realized we couldn't go anywhere. So we started helping locals, and we did programs for local. And that's when I realized, my God, there's so many poor people in KL that are living hand to mouth, that are living, they're hardly living. So that's when we started focusing, let's do work here. So all this suddenly came the idea of, hey, why don't you go into politics? And I said, I didn't do this for politics. And even now, power is not what I want. I want to be able to help people. That is, if if somebody can guarantee me this, I can still do work for people. You can take the power. I don't need it. I don't need the power. I want that whatever we do to help the people keeps going on, and whoever takes power keeps this work going on, and then keep doing the work for the people, because that is more important to me. I don't know how to explain, because people who are in politics always think like they're like you. You're like them. You're in politics for the power. I say, I made my money before I joined politics. I didn't come here to make money. But because they are there to make money, they think we are the same. So it's hard. And I remember once the Prime Minister said something to me. He quoted somebody, I forgot the name. If the good people don't go into politics, he said, all the bad people will be in politics. But once you're in politics, a lot of the rhetoric out there is everybody's bad. So there's no good people. So you have to live with it, you know. So if you say we're bad, everybody's bad, right? So who's good? Who's doing the work, you know? So are you saying don't have government? You can't. You cannot have a country without government. But you need a country with a government that listens, that does the work. Rather than me sitting outside of my industry and looking our IP rights getting trampled on, all the other stuff, like, you know, all the workers' rights, whatever, people really looking, they look, yeah, I'm gonna say this to the politicians out there. You guys look at us like pariahs, okay? Because you use us, people who are in the entertainment industry, to help you whenever you need, whenever election, you come and call us, come and do shows, come and do this, but you do not help us and all with regards. Now, some actors or singers who who make money from this, hey, they help us. Yeah, they give you money, but after that, they do not help you. If not, duty hiburan won't be there. They would have done something about that. IP rights will not be there. Stations taking your rights shouldn't be there. RTM is your government station is taking rights. Only now, with the new government and the new KP, they are looking at changing that. Changing so that rights go back to the producers. So that the producers can use that IP to make more money. If you're saying you're trying to help the producers, you do something about it rather than just talk bullshit about it. You know? So that's why I'm in politics.
No, but that's the right reason to be in politics. Means what you said is 100% right, because I have been talking to a lot of decision makers, and my first thing was why the producers have to suffer for creating something and not owning anything of their own.
Exactly.
And this was always been my go to question from all the decision makers.
You know, I'm sorry to say this. I went to Astro last time. Last time I did a lot of work with Astro. And one of them was an Indian producer who came to work at Warna. I don't know whether you remember that bit.
I launched Varna.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
There was a guy I met. I don't know. Was it you? I hope it's not you. Because I know. I think it was another guy. Navin or Naren or something like that. I think maybe after you or something like that. But that guy, he said, no. He was the head of all the other channels. Karthik.
Yeah.
Karthik, I met with Karthik. Okay, I'm sorry, Karthik, I have to say your name. Because you actually said this to me. Because in India, we don't own our rights, he said like that. So why should we change here? So I just went like, okay, but how are we going? The thing is, you guys are not doing anything with the rights.
Yeah.
They're not doing anything. They have the rights and then it just becomes nothing.
It's in the freezer.
Yeah. We want to improve on our shows. We want to make it better. We have something to show people. Oh, this is the show, but for this season, we want to do this. You know? And no, we want the rights. Okay. I put myself in a position at Astro that I got rights. You know why? Because I got leverage because my show made money for them. I did Super Spontan. I did Spontan punya show. And Spontan got numbers for them. But from day one, when I gave them Spontan, I said, I want 50% rights. I said, you can have the rights, but the rights to the IP, we share 50-50. But if I sell the IP, I get 70%, you get 30%. So that was the deal. not many producers got that. Some producers got that. People who they want to work with, but you got to put yourself in that position of leverage before you get that kind of deal. And it's not we cannot take, we as a station, we cannot take rights because the prices they pay, brother, is the prices of, like, if you were to license something, it's a license fee.
Yeah.
So you don't own any rights.
No, because what the kind of content we have created for some of the stations, I see it on different platforms which I have
Exactly,
no
right?
clue about,
Exactly.
and I never got a penny out of it.
Yeah.
So means that has been done for the longest time.
I did something for View, which was they gave us a good budget. During that time, they were still doing premium. So now they're not doing premium, they're doing all the normal TV kind of stuff. When they did premium, then when they paid us the amount, which was fair, I would think fair, it was about, I can't reveal the number, but it was a really healthy amount for a sitcom. You can take the rights, I don't mind. So they sold it to Astro, so because you were happy that everybody got paid.
Yeah.
Right? But if you are charging at the current rate, we know you cannot afford. This is the amount that RTM can give, TV3 can give, but even commissioning, like you say, is dead right now, right? So really right now, everybody wants to do in-house. Now that you need to look over again. Should you do in-house? Can you do in-house? Why? Why should you do in-house? Right? Why? Then what about all these people on the outside? Why have an industry if you want to do everything in-house? So that's another conversation. But if you do, the rates that you're giving is license rates. That means for the amount you're paying us, we give you a license for 2 years, which is what Singapore is doing.
Exactly what MediaCorp does.
Exactly.
Basically, after 2 years, it goes back to the users.
That's right. Which means you can do whatever you want with it. So, and they also bought Super Spontan to do 2 seasons in Singapore, and they bought rights. So we sold the rights for 70%, and we paid 30% to Astro. So our content can travel if done well. If we but Super Spontan had a really good budget because it was considered. It was not like a Maharaja Lawak Mega that was a super big budget, but this one was like a premium budget lah. It's still premium.
I'll give you a bit of trivia.
Yeah.
I launched your show.
Oh really? You did?
Super Spontan helmets are still there.
Oh my god.
I made those
Oh yeah.
to launch your show.
Oh my. Oh yeah. The football. The American football.
Yeah, that was my.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
My
yeah.
team and I did that.
Oh nice. Oh thank you. Thank you very much. That launched 7 to 8 years of my life. Yeah.
So you means you have done films, you have won so many awards, and Malaysian film wins praises at international festivals and fails at home.
Yeah.
A Malaysian film with no critical credibility makes millions at the box office.
Yeah.
What do those two facts together tell you about the Malaysian audiences?
A very young audience. We don't have a matured film watching audience. We do not have a film watching culture, which should have started at school. Where how when we were at school, we had Shakespeare books to read, and then we read Shakespeare, and then after that we had to comment, we had to do stuff. Even how I got into theatre was that my mom sent me to a library to read books, and then we were reading books like that, and then we saw kids going into the activity room. So what are they doing? And then they were doing theatre. I'm like, what's theatre? They go in, and then what the librarian did was he called some teachers to teach theatre, but based on the books that were there in the library. So people who read books can go in and then recreate the stories live. And I thought, this is brilliant. And suddenly from not wanting to read, I'm like, okay, this is a good story. Because then we wanted to do it as a theatre show. It's the same. So there is a movie for everyone. Right? When your audience is not matured, there is only the mass audience. So the mass audience wants to watch horror, action, gangster, police, uniform guys,
Blue lights.
these are the and fighting lah, fighting movies. Tarung did well, and animation. Okay, these are the go-to, right, for cinema, because the mentality is I'm not going to cinema to learn something new. The mentality is I want to be entertained. That's the general mentality. Okay, I've done work at home, now I want to have good time with my kids and show me something good. you know? But and that's actually how I started doing films. Bully is actually a very serious topic,
Yeah.
right? Because it's about depression and it's about inferiority complex. But I told myself, you cannot tell this story and get people depressed. You have to tell a story that makes people laugh and then get them depressed. So, because then they will be like, this movie is so funny. And then suddenly, when the thing starts to shift,
Hit them in the gut.
you hit them in the gut, and they're really open right now, because their gut is not up,
Yeah.
it's open because they're laughing, and then you hit them in the gut with this, and then you're like, shit, and they cry. So what I got the movie was the point where I said, if this goes to plan, people should cry here. And when I sat in the cinema, I was looking at the people and they cried, and that's when I realized I managed to do something, because I didn't do a movie that people just laugh, and didn't get anything. And I sat down outside the cinema after the movie, because first day, this is like George Lucas waiting for Star Wars outside the cinema, Chinese theater. I was outside KLCC cinema, and I was sitting at a coffee bean or something like that, and then somebody came out of the cinema and saw me walk straight at me, and then she went in front of me, and she says, and she was a big girl, which I was big as well. And he says, "Thank you for understanding how I feel." And I lost it. I just went, "Oh my god, this is just this one person." And then the other one, I got messages because I did a lot of research for this book. I actually went to the mental ward in HUKM and became like an aide, helping out in the mental ward. So I will come and read stories and be with the people in the world. And I realized that most of them are there because of depression, and some of them, and it's not all of them are crazy or have, but serious mental illness is depression. A lot of them are depression. So I wanted that to translate in the film as well. So not people who are cuckoo or they say whatever they want to say, but people there because they're depressed, they're down. So that's why I put the character, Jalil Hamid character in the movie. He was so depressed that his children didn't love him anymore. And that was something very personal to me because I had a problem with that. So I had to put that in because I felt depressed. I didn't have a good relationship with my dad. And I'm sure he was down. But it was because two egos were too big. But this is the beauty of what we do. We can exercise our demons outside. And nobody knows about this. When we get there, we try our best again to make the movie sell. So Bully did well because it was between funny and drama. So they got the audience that loved the haha, but also got the audience that really appreciated the drama. So when I did Papadum, it was the same thing. I went back to that formula of make people laugh and then hit them with that father-daughter story that you want to tell. So I'm shooting a movie in August, which is also a family thing because I know my my go-to is family stories. I love telling stories about family because my family, I have a lot of drama, had a lot of drama, but I think this also is my strength. I can do other movies, but these things are personal to me. So I have a responsibility to my investors, which is I have to make sure that they make money and not lose money. Because as long as I at least make money for them, I know I can make another movie after this. But if I lose money, that's it. I burn that bridge.
Yeah.
And this is our business. It's easier to do TV. Every year I got a contract from Astro. I got a contract, invest. And it's just close eye because Astro is going to pay X amount. It's different with film. But that's why a lot of countries, the government support the film industry because it's important for the culture. The stories about the people of, it's a sign of the times of the people who are living there. The movies in the 70s were the sign of the times then. Movies in the 80s, movies in the 90s. Now people need to see how we are here in the 21st century, That's the reason why there needs to be all sorts. If and when we have education in school and we get people to start appreciating local films in school, get them to watch good local films. Okay, this is a film by Yue, this is a movie, blah, blah, blah. This is a film by Shamsul Yusuf, Mat Kilau, it made 100 million, everybody watch. So
It's like a film appreciation classes.
yes, and you should do it because one, it's a social thing, and it gets them used to. I want to watch a movie. I gotta go and watch it with my friends together, and then I have something I can say about this movie. I can talk about this movie. I have conversations with my friends, meaningful conversations about why did you do this? Why did you do this? Why is that masale color hair color orange? Is he from the Netherlands? Whatever. So there's conversation that can be had and meaningful. So and movies, there are good movies that will give great lessons to people. So why not keep that going? And if that culture starts in school, carries on to university, we would have a discerning film going community that will want to watch really artsy films. We want to watch kenegaraan films, whatever type of films there is about.
World cinema.
Yeah.
FFM, the Malaysian Film Festival, has been a primary recognition structure for local films for decades.
Yeah.
Critics say it rewards the safe and the politically connected, movies usually get through it. Do you agree? And if so, what does that do to the culture of filmmaking?
First of all, I have been a jury once. They never called me back again. But when I was there, I was quite surprised of the composition. But everybody was an industry leader in some sort. I met somebody who was a music industry leader. So as I understood it, he would probably listen to the songs and listen to the and but problem was he was judging on every other aspect as well. Okay, so there are people in writing, there are press, some people in the press who are basically in films, covering films and so on, right? Now that body has to be independent, right? It has to be independent because we don't want any favoritism or whatever to happen. That's why nobody knows who the jury is. Every year, you don't know. You're not supposed to let anybody know anyway. Now, but certain times, like I remember the year I was jury, we always have discussions. And if we see there's somebody championing a cause that doesn't make sense, we fight. But there needs to be people who are willing to fight. If there is no people and everybody's, if a question is, does it follow any political agenda or whatever, it doesn't. But I cannot say for the individuals that become jury. We do not have a political agenda. We, in general, want the best movie to win.
Yeah.
We do not want just the popular films to win, but we don't discount the fact that if the film is popular, but it also has substance, it can win. All right? Like, for example, when Imaginor won, it was a movie that made money. It didn't make big, crazy money, but it made 6 million on a 500,000 budget, which is pretty decent. Right? And it won Best Film. And for me, that was a good indication that our audience is starting to get smarter and is starting to get more matured, and they understand that cinema can teach them something, can open new paradigms for them. So now, this is what I feel, that FFM problem is sometimes we don't know who the jury is, but it, as a rule of thumb, Let them be people in the film industry. Let them be the old guards of the film industry. I think Yue was part of the jury, right? I think they let the name of the jury, the head
Not
jury.
last year.
Not last year.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, you get people like that who will fight. You people like Yue, they will fight for who they believe deserves to win, and not the community feels should win. It actually deserved winners. So I think for now I can't say much for last year because I was very involved in the hosting, so I didn't pay attention to the thing except until we heard the results, and then we're like, oh, okay.
Why? When you joined PKR in 2021, your film grant application for Angel of Sandakan was rejected almost immediately.
It actually wasn't immediately. It was initially accepted.
Oh, okay. And
But
then
that
got
will be
rejected.
opening a can of worms which no Papaduan government wants to listen to.
But you said publicly that I kind of expected this to happen, and PKR is now the government, and Dato Sri Anwar is the PM. You hold a party position now. What has actually changed for Malaysian filmmakers now that your party is in power?
I would think that we are creating better policies right now. We are changing things, archaic laws that have been with us for decades, and we are doing it actively. And hopefully, the CEO can help us expedite all the matters. We want the change, so we need the action to happen at corporate pace as opposed to government pace. Uh, but we also understand there is so many red tape that we need to go through to get certain things happen. We might not be in FINAS anymore by the time it's time to call for legislation. And the new government would then say, we don't like this old legislation, let's do it again. And it will take another 4 years to get done. And this is why nothing gets done. And I am upset that this is the way the government works, even though it's my government. It shouldn't be. It should be faster. We should be a government that shows results. We are in there. We want the results. You guys have people who know the industry in there to help with getting the results. You should listen. I shouldn't say anything more because, but that is
Slippery slope.
It's a very slippery slope. But that is what I am saying. We are making changes. On our side, we are telling them this needs to change, this needs to change. But then it goes to the lawyers and legal matters. It has to be presented to Parliament. It has to go through an RUU meeting, and all those things take time. And as fast as the CEO can move this thing, depends on how fast they can do it. This is how long it will take. We as a board of finance have already given all the green lights to execute. So now it's now up to the management to execute. So the management is PTD. They are all government workers. So they have to help us to follow through.
You are holding 3 positions at this point of time. You are in FDAM, you are in Skim Wajib Tayang, and you're also holding a position in the ruling party. That is a very unusual concentration of access for one person in this industry. Is there a coordinated strategy, or are these genuinely 3 separate jobs?
It's separate jobs because I didn't get the FINAS board membership until I opened my mouth and spoke about the cartel. And they said, okay, show us. Okay, you want me to show you? I'll show you. So that was the thing. But prior to that, I was doing something else. I was the FDAM Director Association because the last group after Mark London passed away, they came to see me and said, would you be our head and take us to a new direction? And I said, I love FDAM. I left FDAM because I thought it was a free for all. Anybody can become a director now. And that's why I left. I said, I didn't want to be a part of an organization that wasn't, to me, precious anymore. Every time we call a director, for me, he's put in so much work for this. And not just anybody who's never directed a film, but has got voting right as a film director with me. So what we are trying to do this year is actually to say so sorry, but you guys were given this without the proper legality. You were given out of whatever kindness of the charity, whatever. But when we look into our the terms and conditions of our society, whether we could do that, it says yes, we can. Because once it's been changed and we have solidified our rules, that regulatory rules, then if that person doesn't fulfill the regulations, we can bring them back down to from A to AB or to amateurs and that kind of thing.
So there will be a proper marking.
Proper marking. Because if we don't follow the proper marking, then people are going to say, why does this guy have a film director's accreditation when he hasn't done any films?
If you could change one structural thing about how the Malaysian film and television industry is built, one thing, not a whole list, what would it be?
It's hard to say one thing because if you fix one thing, you can't fix the other because it's so many things. That's what's the problem of the industry. There's so many problems. One fix isn't going to fix everything. One fix will fix one thing. For example, IP is a big issue. I would say IP is one of the biggest issues since I'm a content creator. I create content. You are a content creator. And you want that your IP will be able to make you money for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
That would be
Retirement
perfect, right?
plan.
Yeah. Retirement plan is this is my IP, this is my harta, this is my tanah. This is that I can. That would be important. But with your IP, if you don't fix your tax, the duty hiburan, which is the entertainment tax, you're still screwed. Because you're gonna get taxed by the entertainment tax, and you get income tax, and you get company tax. Then what do you get at the end of the day? How are you going to support the industry? How are you going to make sure that we have the best people? For example, why would I give Astro the best content if Astro takes my rights? Right? Why should I give you? Whenever we create things, we create the best, right? Okay, this so that nobody has this idea. Everybody has a different idea. Mine is better. But I give it to Astro. Astro takes the idea. So now I've got to look for another great idea. And we all know God is not like open tap. I give you great ideas every day. I give you a great idea once, maybe 2 years, whatever. Because that already you make
It takes a lot of effort,
Exactly.
You can't just pull things out of a hat.
Exactly. You need experience. You need to have experienced certain things in life, and also understood certain things. And that doesn't. So that you know the old story about the guy who fixed the boat, right? He plugged the thing with one thing and charged $300,000 just to plug a thing. And he said, I should have just plugged the thing. Yeah, you should have. But you didn't know how to do that, right? He said, yeah, what you're seeing is the plug. The plug is worth, maybe $100. But for me to know how to do this, it took me years and years of experience so that I know how to do this. You're not paying for the plug. You're paying for my experience. That is what the business people need to understand about us in this industry. You're not paying him because he did one program for you. You're paying him because he came up with an idea that is good enough for you to make money from the idea.
And I can see it in other platforms without me knowing.
Exactly, right? That is so wrong. Get it right, guys. Get it right. IP is important for the creators. Some people, money is short term. No matter how much money we get, it's going to finish because we got, things to pay for, whatever. But a long term thing is if you take care of the rights, the IP, you take care of our taxes, entertainment tax, and all sorts of other things, then we will be happy to vote for whoever helps us.
Thank you so much, Dato.
Thank you so
And
much.
it was really nice talking to you. It was such a lovely conversation. I didn't want it to end, but it was quite a long conversation.
Yeah, it is. Thank you.
But thanks a lot for coming, and I wish you all the best for your future endeavors. And I hope we get this whole rights thing sorted out
Yeah.
so that the
Me
business
too.
can we can continue doing what we do.
Yes.
We love doing.
And all the best to you too.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks.
Thank you.
If you know anything about comedy, you know this. The most honest diagnosis of a broken system really comes from inside it. It comes from the person who was on the outside long enough to see clearly and then walk through that door. Dato Afdlin Shauki walked through that door. He is now inside 3 doors at once. Whether he can make those institutions serious, sharper, more honest, more willing to say what they see is the most interesting question in Malaysian film industry right now. And it is in its own way a very Malaysian story. The comedian who becomes the committee, the punchline who becomes the policy. This has been What's Stewing. See you in the next one. Till then, keep stewing.